The massive alien ship hung in space like a dark cathedral, its twisted spires and glowing ports making it look more like a nightmare than a vessel. Inside its grand council chamber, beings from 12 different worlds sat in a perfect circle. The air shimmered with translation fields, allowing creatures of vastly different origins to communicate. At the center of this gathering stood a single human woman. Commander Sarah Chen looked impossibly small compared to the towering aliens around her. The Vorthak delegation loomed 15 feet high, their crystalline bodies refracting the chamber's purple light into rainbow patterns. The Zalani representatives writhed like living shadows, their forms constantly shifting between solid and gas. The insectoid cricks clicked and chittered, their mandibles dripping with acidic saliva that could dissolve steel. "You dare come before the Galactic Council with such audacity?" The Vorthak Prime's voice boomed through the chamber like breaking glass. "Your species has existed in space for barely 200 of your primitive years. We have ruled the stars for millennia." Sarah's expression remained calm. She wore a simple black uniform with no weapons visible, no armor, no protection of any kind. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her hands rested casually at her sides. To the assembled aliens, she appeared defenseless. "I come with a simple message," Sarah said, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. "Humanity requests that you reconsider your invasion plans for the Sol system." A wave of what could only be described as laughter rippled through the council. The Zalani's shadowy forms pulsed with amusement. The Crix's chittering grew louder and more aggressive. Even the normally stoic Morgani delegation allowed their tentacles to quiver with mirth. "Request?" The Zalani voice speaker materialized into a more solid form, its features still shifting like smoke. "Your words are amusing, little creature. You speak as if you have a choice in the matter." The Crix Queen leaned forward, her massive compound eyes reflecting Sarah's image thousands of times. "Your solar system contains 17 habitable worlds after terraforming, rich in minerals, perfect for our expansion. Your species will make adequate slave labor once properly." "Modified." Sarah nodded slowly, as if considering their words. "I understand your position, but I felt it was important to give you this opportunity to change your minds willingly." "Opportunity?" The Vorthak Prime's crystalline body flared with angry red light. "You mistake our patience for weakness, human. Your ships are primitive chemical rockets compared to our vessels that bend space itself. Your weapons are crude projectiles, while we command the very forces of creation." The Prime gestured to the chamber's viewing screen, which displayed the human fleet positioned defensively around Earth. Compared to the alien armada, the human ships looked like toys. 300 of your largest vessels against our 20,000 warships. Your mathematics are surely sophisticated enough to understand those odds. Sarah's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Oh, I understand the numbers perfectly. But I think you misunderstand something fundamental about humanity." "And what might that be?" The Morgani collective spoke in unison, their massive brain cases pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. "You assume that what you can see is all we have." The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then the Vorthak Prime's laughter resonated like a crystal chandelier falling downstairs. "Invisible ships? Secret weapons? Child's fantasies? Our sensors detect every electromagnetic signature, every gravitational anomaly, every quantum fluctuation in your system. If you possessed such capabilities, we would know." Sarah reached into her jacket pocket and withdrew a small device about the size of a smartphone. The aliens tensed, but their scans showed it to be completely inert. No energy signatures, no dangerous materials, nothing but simple ceramic and metal. "This is a communication device," she explained calmly. "It connects me directly to Earth's Defense Command. With it, I can transmit a single word that will alter the situation considerably. The Crix Queen's mandibles clicked dismissively. More threats? You humans are persistent in your delusions. Do you think we fear your chemical explosives, your nuclear weapons? We have deflector shields that could withstand your sun going supernova. I'm not talking about nuclear weapons, Sarah said quietly. Something in her tone made the chamber grow still again. The Zilani voice speaker solidified further, its form taking on a more attentive posture. Then what do you speak of? Sarah looked around the circle of alien beings, meeting each one's gaze in turn. 50 years ago, humanity discovered something that changed everything. We found ruins on Mars, not ancient Martian ruins, but the remains of a much older civilization, one that had visited our system long before any of us achieved spaceflight. The Morgani Collective's bioluminescence flickered in what might have been surprise. Impossible. Our archaeological surveys found no evidence of precursor activity in Sol system. Because they weren't precursors, Sarah continued. They were something else entirely, something that existed long before your species even evolved, and in those ruins, we found instructions. Not technology, something far more profound. We found the fundamental codes that govern reality itself. The Vorthak Prime's crystalline form shifted to a suspicious orange hue. You speak in riddles, human. I speak in warnings, Sarah replied. The beings who left those ruins had a message. They warned that the universe contains forces too dangerous for younger species to possess. They left safeguards, restrictions coded into the very fabric of space-time. But they also left overrides. She held up the small device again. This doesn't control weapons or ships. It sends a single command to activate protocols that have been sleeping in our solar system for over 1 million years. Protocols that the Ancient Ones built to protect themselves from the kind of aggression you're planning. The chamber erupted in a chaos of alien voices. The Crix Queen's chittering became aggressive. The Zilani forms swirled with agitation. The Vorthak delegation blazed with angry red light. Lies! The Prime boomed. Desperate fabrications! Sarah's expression remained serene. I've delivered humanity's warning. What you do with it is your choice. But I want to be absolutely clear about something. Her voice dropped lower, and somehow it seemed to fill the vast chamber completely. If you proceed with your invasion, I will activate these protocols. And when I do, your ships, your crews, and everything you've brought into our system will simply cease to exist. The alien council fell into an uneasy silence, studying the small human woman who stood before them without fear, without weapons, but with an absolute certainty that sent ripples of unease through even the most confident among them. The Vorthak Prime's crystalline form shifted through several colors before settling on a deep, angry purple. You expect us to believe that your primitive species has access to technology beyond our understanding? We who have conquered 1,000 worlds? Sarah remained perfectly still, her finger hovering over the simple device. I don't expect you to believe anything. I'm simply informing you of the consequences of your choices. The Zilani voice speaker materialized into a more solid form, its features sharpening as it focused intently on the human. Describe these protocols. If they truly exist, you would know their nature. The Ancient Ones called them reality anchors, Sarah explained, her voice carrying the weight of absolute conviction. They exist in a state between dimensions, undetectable by conventional means. When activated, they don't destroy matter. They edit it out of existence entirely. They rewrite the quantum foundation of space-time to exclude specific targets. The Morgani Collective's brain cases pulsed in rapid patterns. Such technology would violate the fundamental laws of physics. Sarah's smile was patient, almost pitying. Your understanding of physics is limited by your experience. The Ancient Ones existed when the universe was younger. when the laws themselves were more flexible. They learned to write in the language that reality uses to talk to itself. The Crick's queen leaned forward aggressively, her massive form casting Sarah in shadow. Even if such nonsense were possible, why would they build these devices in your insignificant system? Because Sul isn't insignificant, Sarah replied. Our sun isn't just any star. It's a nexus point. The ancient ones mapped the universe's quantum architecture and found that certain locations serve as control nodes. They built reality anchors at key points to maintain stability. Earth's system happens to be one of the most critical. The chamber's viewing screen flickered, showing deep space sensor readings. Admiral Thorek of the Cricks pointed at the display with one of his serrated appendages. Our advanced scouts report no unusual energy signatures, no hidden installations. Your deception fails before our superior technology. Sarah turned to look at the screen, studying the readings with genuine interest. Of course you don't see anything. You're looking for technology that follows the rules you understand. Reality anchors exist outside those rules. They're not hidden. They're simply in a different layer of existence. She touched her communication device, and for just a moment, something impossible happened. The readings on the screen shifted, showing energy patterns that defied classification. Massive structures that hadn't been there seconds before suddenly registered on every sensor. Then, just as quickly, they vanished from detection again. The alien council erupted in shocked, chittering, crystalline chiming, and telepathic static. The brief glimpse had revealed constructs larger than moons, positioned at mathematically precise points throughout the Sol system. Illusion! The Vorthak Prime thundered, though his crystalline body now flickered with uncertain colors. Sensor ghosts! Technological trickery! Sarah shook her head slowly. I simply asked them to briefly acknowledge your sensors. They exist in a quantum state where observation and non-observation are both true until reality decides which one serves its purposes better. The Zalani voice speaker began shifting forms more rapidly, its usual control slipping. If such power exists, why reveal it? Why not simply activate these weapons without warning? Because the Ancient Ones built more than just reality anchors, Sarah said quietly. They built restrictions, safeguards to prevent the casual use of such power. The protocols can only be activated when 3 conditions are met. The threat must be genuine, the warning must be given, and the activation must be witnessed. She gestured around the chamber. You are my witnesses. The Morgani Collective's telepathic voice carried harmonics of growing fear. You would risk the stability of space-time itself over one system? I wouldn't, Sarah admitted. But the Ancient Ones programmed these defenses to activate automatically under specific circumstances. They considered the preservation of nexus points more important than the survival of any single species, including their own. Admiral Thorek of the Cricks suddenly rose to his full, intimidating height. Enough of these fantasies. You humans are master manipulators, but your deceptions end here. I call your bluff. He turned to address the assembled fleet. Begin the invasion. All ships advance on Earth immediately. Sarah's expression didn't change, but her finger moved closer to the device. Last chance to reconsider. The viewing screen showed the massive alien armada beginning to move. 20,000 ships of unprecedented size and destructive capability started their advance toward Earth. The human defensive fleet looked like gnats before a hurricane. The Vorthak Prime blazed with triumphant light. Your desperate gambit has failed, human. Watch as your world burns and know that your lies bought you nothing. Sarah pressed a single key on her device. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. The alien fleet continued its advance. The council members began to relax, their various expressions of alien emotion shifting toward vindication and cruel satisfaction. Then reality hiccuped. The sensation was indescribable. like watching the universe pause to consider something important. Every being in the chamber felt it. A momentary disconnection from everything they understood about existence. When normal perception returned, the viewing screen showed something impossible. One of the alien dreadnoughts, a massive Vorthak vessel the size of a small city, was simply gone. Not destroyed, not vaporized, not scattered into debris. Gone, as if it had never existed at all. The space where it had been showed no disturbance, no energy discharge, no evidence that anything had ever occupied that position. The silence in the chamber was absolute. Sarah's voice cut through the stunned quiet like a knife. The reality anchors have analyzed your fleet and found it to be in violation of space-time stability protocols. They have begun correction procedures. As they watched, another ship vanished. Then another. Not randomly, the ancient intelligences were clearly selecting targets based on some criteria the aliens couldn't understand. Capital ships, command vessels, the most advanced craft in the Armada simply ceased to exist. The Crix Queen's compound eyes reflected thousands of images of empty space where her pride and joy, the Imperial flagship, had been moments before. "Stop this," she chittered in panic. We withdraw! We withdraw our forces!" Sarah shook her head sadly. "The protocols have been activated. The Ancient One's definition of threat neutralization is quite thorough." More ships winked out of existence. The alien armada, so confident moments before, began breaking formation as panic set in. But running was useless. The reality anchors operated outside normal space-time. Distance and speed meant nothing to them. The Zalani voice speaker had lost all cohesion, its form now a rapidly shifting mass of terrified shadow. "You've doomed us all! The Ancient Ones were extinct for millions of years. Who controls these weapons now?" Sarah's answer came quietly, but it echoed through the chamber with the weight of absolute truth. "No one controls them. They are autonomous systems designed to preserve cosmic stability. And according to their calculations, aggressive species represent an unacceptable variable in the equation of universal order." The viewing screen showed the systematic, methodical elimination of the invasion force. One by one, the greatest warships ever built by these ancient civilizations simply stopped existing. The reality anchors worked with mechanical precision, erasing the threat exactly as their creators had programmed them to do millions of years ago. The Vorthak Prime's crystalline form had shifted to a color none of his species had ever displayed before. A pale, terrified white that made his massive body look like fractured ice. How do we stop it? There must be a way to halt the process. Sarah watched the systematic elimination of the invasion fleet with an expression of genuine sadness. The Ancient Ones designed these systems to be irreversible once activated. They believed that species aggressive enough to ignore a clear warning were too dangerous to exist. On the viewing screen, the alien armada was being erased with mechanical precision. The reality anchors didn't just target the largest ships. They were following some incomprehensible logic that seemed to identify key vessels, command structures, and critical technologies. It was like watching a surgeon remove cancer, cutting away exactly what threatened the health of the whole. The Morgani Collective's brain cases pulsed in desperate synchronization. "Our entire civilization's fleet. Thousands of years of advancement. You're witnessing the destruction of galactic order." "No," Sarah said quietly. "I'm witnessing the preservation of it." Admiral Thorek of the Crix suddenly lurched forward, his massive form trembling. "You knew this would happen. You planned this massacre." Sarah turned to face him, and for the first time, her calm expression showed a hint of steel. "I gave you a warning. I explained the consequences. You chose to ignore both." She gestured toward the screen where his flagship had just vanished. "The Ancient Ones programmed these defenses specifically because they knew that aggressive species never listened to reason. The Zalani voice speaker managed to maintain cohesion long enough to ask, "What of our home worlds, our civilians? Do your ancient weapons threaten them as well?" The reality anchors only respond to active aggression within Nexus systems, Sarah explained. Your homeworlds are safe as long as they don't send military forces to threaten humanity, but any ship that enters Sol's system with hostile intent will be edited out of existence. The viewing screen now showed less than 3,000 ships remaining from the original 20,000. The surviving vessels were fleeing in all directions, but the reality anchors continued their work. Only the non-military ships, science vessels, medical frigates, diplomatic craft, remained untouched. Suddenly, the Vorthak Prime straightened, his crystalline body blazing with new determination. "If these weapons are automatic, they cannot distinguish between our forces and yours. Your own fleet must be at risk." Sarah's slight smile returned. "Watch." The screen shifted focus to show the human defensive fleet. As the alien council watched in growing amazement, several human ships moved directly through the zones where alien vessels had been erased moments before. Nothing happened to them. The reality anchors treated the human ships as if they didn't exist. "The ancient ones didn't just leave defensive systems," Sarah explained. "They left recognition protocols. Humanity has been registered as the caretaker species for this nexus point." The implications hit the alien council like a physical blow. The Crix Queen's mandibles clicked in rapid, panicked patterns. "Caretakers? You mean you've had access to these weapons all along?" "Not access," Sarah corrected. "Stewardship. We can't control the reality anchors any more than you can, but we can trigger their defensive protocols when necessary, and they're programmed to protect us as part of their primary function." The Morgani Collective's telepathic voice carried undertones of awe and terror. "How long have you known?" 53 years, 2 months, and 16 days, Sarah replied precisely. "The day our Mars expedition found the control chamber buried beneath the Valles Marineris. The Ancient Ones left very detailed instructions about our responsibilities as guardians of this nexus point." She touched her communication device again, and the viewing screen displayed something that made the remaining aliens fall into stunned silence. Throughout the Sol system, massive structures began to phase into visible reality. Not just the reality anchors, but an entire network of ancient installations that had been hiding in quantum superposition for eons. Defense platforms, sensor arrays, manufacturing facilities, and research stations, Sarah listed calmly. All of it automated, all of it designed to maintain cosmic stability. Earth isn't just humanity's home. It's a fortress that guards one of the universe's most critical quantum junction points. The Vorthak Prime's voice came out as barely a whisper. "Why didn't you reveal this before? Why allow us to believe you were weak?" Sarah's expression grew serious. "Because the Ancient One's instructions were very clear. We are not to use our position as caretakers for conquest or intimidation. We're meant to be protectors, not conquerors. We only reveal the truth when absolutely necessary." Admiral Thorek gestured weakly at the screen, where the last of his attack fleet was being systematically erased. "Then why allow this destruction? You could have stopped us without killing anyone." "I tried," Sarah said simply. "I gave you every opportunity to withdraw. The Ancient Ones programmed these defenses with escalating responses. First warnings, then demonstrations, then elimination of threats. You ignored the warnings and demanded demonstrations." The chamber fell silent except for the various sounds of alien distress, crystalline chiming, shadow writhing, and chittering mandibles. On the viewing screen, fewer than 1,000 ships remained of the once mighty armada. The Zalani voice speaker managed to ask, "What happens now? When word of this spreads, every species in the galaxy will fear humanity." Sarah considered this for a long moment. Perhaps. Or perhaps they'll finally understand that the universe is larger and more mysterious than any of us imagined. The Ancient Ones left similar installations at other nexus points throughout the galaxy. Some have caretaker species, others remain dormant. The choice is simple: work within the cosmic order they established, or face the consequences. She walked to the chamber's great window and looked out at the scattered remains of the invasion fleet. Humanity didn't ask for this responsibility. We were just curious enough to dig deeper into those Mars ruins than anyone else would have. But we've accepted our role as guardians because we understand something important. She turned back to face the alien council. The universe is not meant to be conquered. It's meant to be protected. The Ancient Ones learned that lesson after paying a price we can barely imagine. They built these safeguards to ensure that younger species like ours, like yours, wouldn't repeat their mistakes. The last alien warship winked out of existence on the viewing screen. The reality anchors had completed their task with mechanical thoroughness. What remained was a clear message written in the language of absolute power. The Vorthak Prime's crystalline form had settled into a dull, defeated gray. What of our crews? Are people aboard those ships? Gone, Sarah said without emotion. The reality anchors don't transport or imprison. They edit. When they determine something threatens cosmic stability, they remove it from existence entirely. Those ships and everyone aboard them never existed. The weight of that statement settled over the chamber like a shroud. The Morgani Collective spoke in unison, their voices carrying a new tone of respect and fear. We understand now why the Ancient Ones chose extinction rather than continue their expansion. Such power comes with terrible responsibility. Sarah nodded. They left us their technology not as a weapon, but as a reminder. The universe is vast beyond imagination, filled with wonders we can't comprehend and dangers we can't imagine. Our job isn't to conquer it. It's to make sure it survives long enough for all of us to grow wise enough to deserve it. She activated her communication device one final time. Around the Sol system, the ancient installations began to fade back into quantum superposition, invisible once again, but forever present. "You're all free to return to your homeworlds," Sarah said as she prepared to leave. "Tell your leaders what you've witnessed here. The choice facing every species is the same one humanity faced when we found those ruins on Mars. Do we use our power to destroy, or do we use our wisdom to protect?" As the human woman walked toward the chamber's exit, her footsteps echoing in the vast silence, the alien council members finally understood the true meaning of her warning. It hadn't been a threat. It had been an invitation to choose wisely. The last thing they heard before the chamber doors closed behind her was her final message. "The universe is watching. Choose carefully." Outside the chamber, the stars themselves seemed to pulse with ancient wisdom, and the surviving alien ships began their long journey home, carrying word of a truth that would reshape galactic civilization forever. Humanity was not humanity as they had believed. They were the guardians of forces beyond imagination, protectors of a cosmic order older than their oldest civilizations. And they had been warned.